Yes. Import. Dump it.
I figured this would be a good segue into Bitcast episode 16. It is February 25th, 2020, and it is a bloodbath this week. Coronavirus is spreading, lots of news about it. CDC saying that it's spreading rapidly and their test kits aren't working, and USA needs to start being prepared because it's going to hit us soon, and S&P 500 dropped how many points, and oh my god, is this going to start the next recession? Who knows? Well, if we coronavirus, yeah, case count has just been going up exponentially, which is, it really is, it should be taken seriously. It's definitely not a joke. People are dying, mostly, older people with pre-existing conditions or babies, but it is serious and it's spreading, and it's probably gonna be a lot more in the news the next few months, and traveling and all that stuff might be a little difficult, which is why we're starting to see dips in stocks and gold and silver. I mean, no asset is escaping the red today, not even Bitcoin. So, and I know a lot of people like to say, oh, Bitcoin is supposed to be a safe haven asset, this and that, and it's like, well, I mean, it is a safe haven asset if you're looking for money that can't be, censored or taken from people. That's exactly what it is. It can't be confiscated or anything like that. But as far as, price movements, it's obviously a volatile, speculative asset still. It's such a nascent asset. The market cap is so small relative to other asset classes. So that's going to bring a lot of volatility, which is good. If you're a trader, if you're looking for better entries and stuff like that, you should want it to be a little volatile. It's actually an opportunity to make money. So I think it's interesting whenever we have major events like the coronavirus news and all that stuff. It kind of blows my mind how often black swan events or major events in the news that clearly affect, price movements, they usually line up with like major support and resistance levels. And what I mean by that is like this level right here, actually I've already got them drawn on here. This level right here is a major resistance level for Bitcoin. You can see that this started at the top. We tested it right here, tested it another time, tested it another time, and then we tested it just recently on this run up from 2020. And it's crazy to me because a lot of people like to say, oh, Bitcoin's down because of the coronavirus news, just like everything else. And while that might be true, I just think it's interesting that, like, even if I didn't know anything about the coronavirus, like, I would have guessed that Bitcoin was going to go down from here just based on the technicals. It came up here and it tested this resistance again, and now we're going back down. So it's just kind of weird to me how it happens a lot, really, like where big news will happen and it just like coincides with a major resistance. And I don't know if major sellers like plan that, but it's always interesting to me to see that. But looking at the Bitcoin price, in my last video I was talking about how I opened a short. Price was at like 10.1. Talked about that rising wedge pattern on the daily. This rising wedge here, which is a bearish pattern, and it ended up breaking down. Whoops. So like whenever you see a price making higher highs and higher lows, but it's starting, it's getting compressed, if it doesn't go parabolic, it usually means it's probably going to run out of steam, and that's exactly what happened. It ended up breaking down. I couldn't even make it up for a proper retest, and we went back down. Now, I did open that short, like I said in the last video. I did well at holding it down. I held it down to like right, where was it? It was like down to, price went down. I held it all the way down to like 9.4 here, but then price shot all the way back up here. I ended up closing it around like 9.7. So I made a little profit on it, but it shook me out. I went against my trading. I was looking, I had my stop loss above the price up here. I took my position right here. I had my stop loss above the high, and my target was right around here, that 8.9 level. And I should have just held on to it because I was paying attention to the low time frame price action, and as soon as I seen price moving up favorably, I mean it went up relatively fast, and I was like, oh crap, we bottomed. I need to get out of this short, right, while I'm still ahead. So that's what I did. I puked the position, and look, you can see what happened. We ended up going further down, and we didn't even go up and test my stop loss. So I would have been good if I would have just not paid attention to low time frame price action. So got that written down in my journal. You try to learn from those mistakes. Don't overmanage your trades. If you have a proper, a target and a stop loss, you shouldn't have to manage it. What you should do is just set it and forget it. Not necessarily forget it, but you shouldn't mess with it. Just let the trade go, and if it hits your take profit like you think it should, great. If not, you're going to hit your stop loss and maybe lose a little bit, but not a lot, because your risk profile, you got to keep it low. So Bitcoin's on its way down. If we want to take a look at the weekly Ichi Cloud, which I think has been pretty spot on. And this is the extended Ichi Cloud, it's not the regular Ichi Cloud. We can see, how we've talked a lot about this cloud, how price, it basically showed us where price was going to go. Once the price entered the cloud, it told us it was probably going to go down low here, and it did. As soon as it hit the wall of the cloud, it shot up, and then we came back down and retested, tested the bottom of the cloud, and then we shot up. And then we came up here and tested the top of the cloud, and then now we're on our way correcting down towards the bottom of the cloud. Bottom of the cloud is around 8.8, 8.7 area. Kijun and Tenkan are around that 8.5 area. I think we're probably not going to go much lower than 8.5. If we do go that low, I could see the bottom of the cloud getting front ran. So I think we're gonna come down here and maybe test the bottom of this cloud, maybe front run a little bit, and then maybe make our way back up, or go sideways like the cloud seems to be projecting. Or if we get above the cloud, maybe we'll test these highs over here around that 12K, and then get a nice little correction again back down into the halving. So we'll just have to see. But the cloud has been pretty on point. I'm expecting price to make its way down to this 8.8, 8.9 area. And then I'll be looking for longs on Bitcoin once we get back down here. I also think it's interesting looking at this pennant here. This major resistance that we talked about earlier, and this support down here. It's crazy to me because this pennant, the end of the pennant, when we actually need to make a decision whether this is going to break up to the upside or the downside, it's like in May of 2020. And what happens in May? You guessed it, the Bitcoin halving. So it's kind of ironic that this pattern is going to play out. Price could wiggle around in here for a while, up and down, until we get to the edge of this pennant, and then it's going to be decision time. Which way are we going to go? Maybe we'll see a fake out. Maybe it'll break down and then shoot up. Who knows? But May 2020 is when I think we're going to have to make a decision on this pennant anyways. So yeah, coronavirus affecting things pretty heavily. If we look at the S&P 500, it's down I think 3% on the day, 6% on the week. Past 2 weeks it's down like 7 or 8%. So Not looking so hot on the S&P, but as we know, whenever stocks or the S&P, NASDAQ, and all that shit goes down, so this is when central banks step in and they print money, or they incentivize companies to do stock buybacks to inflate their stocks. So at the expense of the US dollar, we'll print more money. At the expense of everybody's savings, we're going to print more money so that we can save the rich people's stocks. And I know it protects our 401k too, right? Well, this is a massive bubble and it's going to pop sooner or later, but it's not, in the long run, it's not going to be good for the younger generations. The boomers might make it out before it pops, but I don't know. I think it's going to happen sometime soon. And maybe, who knows, maybe this coronavirus is the tip of the iceberg. Maybe this is what pushes us into that recession, that long-awaited recession that we've been, a meaningful correction that most people anticipate, because normal markets do correct, but this isn't a normal market. This is what I would consider a fake propped up market. But so we'll see. I'm assuming central banks and Donald Trump will step in and yell at the central bankers to do something about it so they can save his economy that he made so great. And yeah, right. We'll just have to see. Like I said, gold, silver, stocks, everything's down since this coronavirus news. Bitcoin, it's all down. Whether that's the technicals or the actual virus news, it's been a red week. So it's been rough on some people, but we're gonna get through it. Buy when blood's in the streets, and sell when your friends are trying to get involved. That's kind of when retail's trying to get involved. That's usually when it's a good time to maybe start thinking about exiting some of your positions. It's funny too, because I've seen some of my friends talking on Facebook about how to get involved with stocks and all this stuff and make a bunch of money in stocks, and I literally thought to myself, like, if this isn't close to the top, then this thing's never going to top out. And sure as shit, we had a 6% drop in the S&P 500. So it's just funny how that works out. The retail can give you clear signs of when it might be a good time to start thinking about exiting some long positions, or vice versa. So always keep the fundamentals in your pocket. Other than that, that's really all I got today. I mean, the coronavirus is taking its reins on the markets right now, and people are saying Bitcoin's not a safe haven asset and yada yada because it's down. And it's like, well, okay, do you consider gold a safe haven asset? I bet you do, and gold's down today, so I don't think it's a very good argument. So I just honestly, like, if I didn't know anything about the coronavirus, I would just see this as like a normal correction. We tested resistance and now we're correcting. We had this huge 300% run up and now we're correcting. So that's all it is. Waiting for this thing to bottom, to hit the bottom of that weekly cloud that I talked about around that 8.889 area, and then I'll probably be looking for some longs. Unless this thing starts shooting up, then I might try to look for a long, but it looks like it still has some correcting to do, so I'm just going to wait it out, be patient, wait for the market to present a setup for me that I like, and then take a trade that way. But I wanted to take a look at Ethereum, because I think ETH is a good indicator for alt season. It's usually whenever Ethereum's doing well, the rest of the altcoins are doing well. That isn't always the case, but 9 times out of 10, that's usually a good indicator. And if we look at ETH, this is the ETH USD chart, and you can see 1 green candle, 2 green candles, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight weeks of positive price action for ETH. 9 straight weeks since towards the end of December, last week of December, up until last week, we had 9 weeks of positive price action for Ethereum, which is huge. And what I think is interesting is how resilient it's been on this correction. I mean, Bitcoin gave up all of its February gains almost instantly today. I mean, since the drop off, since the highs at the beginning of February to now, we basically gave back all the gains for Bitcoin in February. ETH hasn't given back all of its gains, and I think that's because it's a little more resilient than Bitcoin right now. People are actually, buyers are stepping in and making sure that this thing doesn't go down. They're eating up the lower prices. So when I see that, I think that's a good sign. I want to see that, because that means, once Bitcoin does bottom out, finds a nice floor, or when it starts to bounce back, I think Ethereum's going to be a strong play. And I'm looking at other altcoins to see similar, price action. If they're holding strong versus Bitcoin, or their USD, they're not correcting as heavily as Bitcoin did. Maybe this is a sign that there's a lot of interest in this project, and maybe it could be a good play once things turn around. I'm not saying you should catch knives on ETH or any of these ones that are being resilient, but wait till they turn around, find a nice base. But I look for those sort of things when we're correcting, so that I can prepare myself for when the market turns around, and I can take advantage of those opportunities. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm just chilling out, waiting for Bitcoin to correct, seeing what altcoins are being resilient in their price during this correction. They're not giving back all their gains that they made in 2020. If I see that, then I know it's just like a pump and dump, bullshit. It wasn't a sustainable pump, and you kind of want to stay away from those type of assets unless you're just getting in and out in a hurry. But if we're looking for that long sustainable ride, if we pull up the Ichi cloud, the extended for ETH, like if this sucker gets into this cloud, look where the top of the cloud's at. It's up by $750. An edge-to-edge trade would be beautiful on this, on the weekly. All we want to see is, maybe ETH comes down here, tests this Kijun, that red line, and then bounces back up, maybe retests the cloud again, and then once we get in it, we want to see a weekly close inside of the cloud, and then that would signal a trade edge to edge, and our target would be somewhere around $750, and that'd be a massive trade. I mean, that's over a 2x, almost a 3x from 240. So being patient here, but ETH is looking pretty damn good. It's been very resilient, and altcoins have been resilient. And if you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, remember in the last video I said I use this Bitcoin dominance chart as a tool to help show me when might be an alt season. Like back here when Bitcoin dominance was falling, that basically meant that people were taking their Bitcoin, they were putting it into altcoins, so the dominance of Bitcoin was dropping, but the market was still booming. I mean, Bitcoin was being still resilient around this time, but altcoins were just going parabolic. They were getting gains more than Bitcoin, which meant that people were going risk on. They were taking their Bitcoin and they were selling it for altcoins, and getting gains from that and using that to accumulate more Bitcoin, kind of like what I talked about. But if you see where we're at right here, we're still below this diagonal, which was the support that we wanted to break, and we did break that. And since we broke that, it has been alt season. And then we've got this green candle right now because Bitcoin is correcting. And usually that happens because when Bitcoin corrects, what people do is altcoins usually get hit just as hard, if not harder than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the major driver in the market. If Bitcoin goes down, usually the rest of the market goes down. So when Bitcoin goes down a lot, usually altcoins go down much more. So, and when that happens, you see people taking their profits that they made on the recent gains in their altcoins, and they're selling it for their Bitcoin, and then you see the Bitcoin dominance start to go back up. But as long as we stay below this dotted line here and this diagonal line, I'm confident that we can get some continuation into this alt season once Bitcoin finds a bottom, and once Bitcoin starts to move back up. I think we're going to see some of these alts really go on a tear, like Ethereum and some other ones that I've got my eye on. So we'll be on the lookout for that as well. So if you guys got any questions, let me know. Right now I'm just chilling, waiting for Bitcoin to correct. Like I said, maybe it'll test the bottom of the cloud around that 8.8, 8.9 area, and then hopefully go back up and retest the edge of this resistance, or the top of the cloud, which is around that 10.4 to 10.8 area. So we'll just have to see. Keep an eye on this coronavirus situation. Obviously, it's affecting markets worldwide. We'll see how it pans out in the long run. Stay safe. Don't get wrecked. Move slow. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Alright guys, peace out.